I will be discussing temporary public spaces and how they impact the circulation. I began by looking at Interborough Partners Lent Space. This is a project that is a vacant lot that is temporarily converted into exhibit space for Lower Manhattan Cultural Council in New York City. There are many discourses Lent Space addresses. The four that relate directly to my own thesis are visual and physical control, accessibility, private and public spaces, and temporary. The accessibility is directly related to these pivoting panels that are only located on one side. When they are all open, you are able to directly access the space. When they are all closed, you are not able to. They are also able to be an in-between state that is semi-open. These pivoting panels also relate to the visual and physical control. When they are all closed, you are still able to visually see within from the slits at eye level. When they are completely open, you're having the physical control allows you to access the lot. There is also two accesses that allow you from one side to the other side of the lot. These panels also address public versus private. When the panels are open, the space is public. When the panels are closed, the space is private, creating a boundary between. The temporary part of this project is the material. The material is completely recyclable and reusable. The plants that are within the nursery are also designed to be relocated and distributed throughout the area surround. My own thesis is looking into public spaces that are temporary. I looked directly at Detroit and how they use temporary spaces and also permanent spaces. The discourses I directly addressed is economics, constant change, enterprise, and temporary. The economics are directly related to the vacant spaces that are around Detroit and how public spaces are normally in dense areas. The temporary space is looking at one specific area, which is Woodward, and how they closed Woodward down and used temporary elements such as swings to create a public space. Also looking at constant change, the campus Marcis is constantly changing between seasons. In the winter, it is ice skating rink. In the summer, it is a beach with a bar. Enterprise is a discourse because the public is directly interested in purchasing goods within a public space. Looking at my own thesis, at this point, I was unclear on where to take a direction. Therefore, I revisited my case study. Looking specifically at their research methods, I looked at how they addressed circulation. They knew that they needed to have a boundary that could be closed at certain points and open at others. They examined the edges of the space and realized that 3 of the 4 sides were heavily congested with traffic. On one side, there was no traffic allowed. Therefore, this was the best spot to allow access for pedestrians. The design of these panels allowed the space to be completely closed or completely open, or an in-between state. The interior circulation is directly related to the program. The core allows large groups to gather for art exhibits, where the edges allow small groups or individuals to gather within the tree nursery. To develop my thesis more, I looked directly at pop-up architecture instead of a generic term of temporary. I looked at pedestrian, traffic, and other modes of movement of circulation. I looked at different research methods, specifically looking at past architecture, mapping current installation, circulation. To define the circulation, I am looking at routes and paths through and around the built environment, specifically in how the pedestrians change their normal behavior due to the pop-up architecture. Looking specifically at historic references that I am able to use as case studies. I will be able to examine them to look at patterns and forces. These patterns and forces will allow me to understand how things directly relate and how one has a cause and effect to another. Looking specifically at the field study, I will look at how a pop-up architecture is impacting the circulation before and after it is installed. After understanding all of these things, I will then do an installation and be able to manipulate one or two variables. Therefore, I know exactly how the public is directly related to these. Returning to my case study, I am now looking at the context within. Looking at the circulation and how they addressed it, there's no major changes between the bicyclists and the vehicle circulation. This is due to how hard it is to temporarily block traffic, where pedestrians are able to choose their path by visual cues. The before and after of this circulation is clearly defined. Before, there was no interior circulation. Now, on one side, there's multiple paths that you are able to enter into the space. There's only 3 other spots that you're able to exit, were not through the pivoting panels. The uses of this space is gathering, sitting, event space, and the nursery. They are layered on top of each other, allowing the public to access all of these different events while passing through. The materiality is completely recycled and not permanently attached to the site. It is also a safety reason to keep some of these panels completely closed, therefore the access into the site for the public. My thesis, I began to look at how specific pop-up architecture impacts the circulation. Looking at the program, there are several different programs that public spaces have. Looking at the public circulation, specifically looking at the pedestrians take many different. Bicyclists either have a blocked path or they have complete access. Vehicles either are able to access the space or not. The safety is also important for these. Being able to block, create a boundary, or completely stop any of these into the space is very important.